Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into something super useful, a 10-point blueprint that's basically a stress test for any new idea you might have. So, whether you're a budding entrepreneur or you've just had that aha moment for a new product, this is your guide to figuring out if that idea really has legs. Okay, so you've got it, that amazing light bulb moment idea. But now what? What's the very next thing you do? How can you tell if it's just a cool thought or something that's actually, viable? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. We're going to break down how to turn that spark of an idea into a real, solid plan. Let's do it. Now, to make all of this really stick, we're going to use a running example the whole way through. Let's pretend we've come up with an idea called the focus cube. Just imagine it, a simple little gadget that sits on your desk, and its whole job is to help you shut out all that digital noise so you can finally get some deep work done. So here's how we're going to tackle this. Our blueprint is broken down into 4 parts. First, we'll go from the initial problem to the actual product. Then we'll get into defining its value. After that, we'll look at making it viable, the business side of things, and we'll wrap up with planning for launch. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, from problem to product. Seriously, this is the foundation for everything else. Before you even think about designs or prototypes, you've got to understand the why behind your idea and maybe even more importantly, who it's for. Every single great product starts with solving a real nagging problem. We call this a customer pain point. And for our focus cube, the pain point is something I think we all feel. It's that never-ending buzz of notifications, the dings, the pop-ups, all that digital noise that just completely wrecks our concentration. And right there, that's the opportunity. Think about how we try to deal with this now. We rely on pure willpower, right? Or we download some app that we just end up ignoring 5 minutes later. Our new solution, the focus cube, is totally different. It's a physical, tangible thing. It's an actual object that's way harder to ignore, and it can even light up to tell your coworkers, hey, I'm in the zone. Okay, that brings us to part 2, defining your value. So we've got a problem and we've got a solution. But now we need to get super clear on what actually makes our solution so special. Why would anyone choose this? And the tool for that is called a value proposition. Now, I know that sounds like business jargon, but trust me, it's not just marketing fluff. It's a really simple, clear statement that answers 3 things. What's the main benefit you offer? How do you solve the customer's problem? And what makes you different from everyone else? So let's put this into practice with our focus cube. The core benefit? It's not the cube itself. It's getting your deep work time back. A key feature? Maybe it's that super simple one-touch button to turn it on. The unique selling point? That's a big one. It's a physical object in a world of easily ignored software. And you can't forget the emotional value, that awesome feeling of being in control and actually getting stuff done. All right, time for part 3, making it viable. Look, a cool idea is great, but it also has to work as a business. This is where we roll up our sleeves and look at the numbers to see if this thing can actually survive and hopefully thrive out in the real world. First things first, just how big is this opportunity? We're talking about market size. And for something like the focus cube, wow, the potential market is massive. You're talking millions upon millions of remote workers, people in offices, students, basically anyone fighting that daily war against distraction. Okay, next up, a dose of reality, the cost. How much money is it actually going to take to bring this thing to life? And you got to think about the whole shebang, from the first design sketches and prototypes, all the way to the expensive tooling and manufacturing needed to mass produce it. And finally, to complete the picture, what about the money coming in? The revenue forecast. Based on that huge market we just talked about and whatever price you set, what's a realistic sales projection for the first year? Getting answers to these 3 things, market size, cost, and revenue, gives you that all-important snapshot of whether this idea can actually make money. Okay, so this table kind of pulls all those numbers together into a quick business case summary. You can see we're thinking a one-time purchase, we're aiming for a 60% gross margin, which is just the profit we make on each cube we sell. Our first goal, capture just 5% of a small test market. If we hit that, we should break even in about 18 months. See? When you lay it out like this, the idea starts to feel much more real and achievable. And that brings us to the home stretch. Part 4, planning for launch. So we've confirmed it's a good idea, the numbers seem to work. Now for the fun part. How do we actually bring this thing to the world and get it into people's hands? This is what's called your go-to-market strategy. It's just a fancy way of saying the plan. For the focus cube, a smart move would be to start small. Let's target a pilot group who feels this pain the most, like tech employees and freelancers. We'd probably sell it directly from our own website, maybe a few online stores. And for marketing, we could create really useful content about productivity and use some targeted social media ads to find our people. And one last super important step. You gotta ask yourself, what could go wrong here? This isn't about being negative, it's about being prepared. For example, a big risk is a huge competitor just swooping in and copying our idea. So how do we fight that? Well, our strategy would be to build a really strong brand and an awesome community around the product early on. And of course, try to patent any unique design features we can. So, after going through this whole blueprint, from the initial problem all the way to the launch plan, it really all comes down to this one final question. You have to ask yourself, does this thing create real value for people? And does it fit with where I want to go in the long run? If you can look at your idea and answer that with a solid yes, well, then you might just have something pretty special on your hands.